The Indiana Fever just lost Sophie Cunningham for the entire season, and what happens next could determine if they even make the playoffs. But here's where it gets crazy. The mysterious guard they just signed might be hiding something that nobody's talking about. And if you're wondering about Caitlin Clark, trust me, the latest development is going to shock you. Before we dive into this breaking news, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because what's happening in Indiana right now is about to change everything we know about this team. Sophie Cunningham's season just ended in the most devastating way possible. Picture this. The Fever were playing the Connecticut Sun, and in the second quarter, everything changed in an instant. Bria Hartley was driving to the basket when she lost her balance and fell directly into Sophie's right knee. The sound Sophie made when she hit the floor sent chills through the entire arena. She was clutching her knee, unable to put any weight on it, and had to be helped off the court with a towel over her head. The initial fear was an ACL tear, which would have been catastrophic. But here's what the MRI revealed. It's a torn MCL in her right knee. While she'll miss the rest of the season, the good news is she's expected to make a full recovery. But let me tell you why this is way worse than anyone's admitting. Sophie wasn't just another player on this roster. She was shooting 50% from the three-point line in her last 16 games. 50%! That's not just good, that's elite-level shooting that most players can only dream about. She was averaging 8.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, and was becoming the X factor in every single Fever win. The timing couldn't be worse, because Sophie had finally found her rhythm after battling through 2 ankle injuries earlier in the season. She was the heart and soul on that court when Caitlin Clark went down, bringing energy and veteran leadership that you just can't replace overnight. Now here's where things get really interesting, and I mean really interesting. The Fever immediately cut Kyra Lambert just 5 days into her 7-day hardship contract. Lambert had just made her WNBA debut, playing in the closing moments of that overtime win against Connecticut. But they dropped her faster than you can say point guard crisis. Why? Because they signed Shey Peddy. And when you hear about Petty's background, you'll understand why this move is raising eyebrows everywhere. Shea Petty is 36 years old, making her one of the oldest players to join the team this season. She's 5'7", which actually makes her shorter than Kelsey Mitchell, who's 5'8". Let that sink in for a moment. They're adding another small guard to a team that desperately needs size. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Petty was actually drafted by the Indiana Fever back in 2012 in the second round. She's coming full circle, returning to the team that originally believed in her potential. During her recent stint with the LA Sparks, she averaged 5 points and 2.7 assists over 6 games. But get this, in her only start against the Fever back in June, when Caitlin Clark was out, Petty helped the Sparks to an 85-75 victory. She knows exactly how to beat this Indiana team. The real story behind this signing goes even deeper. According to Indy Star reporter Chloe Peterson, the switch from Lambert to Petty had everything to do with replacing Sophie Cunningham's veteran impact. They're not just looking for a body to fill a roster spot. They need someone who can handle the pressure of a playoff race. Petty has played for Phoenix, Washington, and the Sparks throughout her 6-year WNBA career. She's been in big games, she's faced adversity, and most importantly, she played with Sophie Cunningham in Phoenix. They know each other's game inside and out. But wait, there's more drama unfolding. Sophie's sister Lindsay absolutely exploded on social media after the injury. She called out the WNBA officials with a scathing post that said the league should focus less on finding players for commenting on poor officiating and more on hiring refs who can protect athletes. And she's not wrong. Sophie herself has been fined twice this season for criticizing officials, once for $500 and then for $1,500. The physicality allowed in games this season has been out of control, and now we're seeing the consequences. Let's talk about what nobody wants to admit. The Indiana Fever are falling apart at the worst possible time. This is their 3rd season-ending injury just in August alone. 3rd! Sydney Colson tore her ACL on August 7th. Aari McDonald broke a bone in her right foot in the same game. And now Sophie Cunningham with a torn MCL. That's almost 1/3 of their entire roster gone for the season. The Fever currently have more injured players than some teams have total reserves. Here's what's even more concerning. The Fever are only eligible for 2 hardship contracts right now. They'll become eligible for a 3rd after Friday's game against Minnesota because Sophie has to officially miss that game for the waiver to activate. Sources close to the team suggest they're targeting a wing player who can shoot from the perimeter. The name being whispered around the league aerial powers. She's 6 feet tall, plays forward, and could provide the size this team desperately needs. But here's the problem. There's barely any talent available this late in the season. Every team is making their playoff push, and nobody wants to give up quality players. Now let's address the elephant in the room that has every Fever fan on edge, Caitlin Clark. And folks, the situation is more complicated than anyone's letting on. Clark hasn't played since July 15th, when she injured her right groin against Connecticut. That's over a month ago, and we still don't have a clear timeline for her return. But I've got some exclusive information that's going to change how you see this whole situation. ESPN recently updated their website showing Clark's estimated return date as August 26th against the Seattle Storm. Ryan Ruocco during the broadcast said that August 22nd, 24th, and 26th are all potential return games. But here's what they're not telling you. Clark has been doing full court running for weeks now, full speed sprints up and down the court. She's been working with trainers on individual drills. The physical recovery is progressing, but there's something else holding her back. In a recent podcast with Sue Bird, Clark opened up about her injury struggles in a way we've never heard before. She said, and I quote, "I've never been through anything like this." She revealed that she's dealt with multiple muscle injuries this season, quad strains, groin issues. And for someone who played all 139 games in college and every game last season, this is completely foreign territory. The mental aspect of returning from injury might be just as challenging as the physical recovery. The Fever are currently 18-16, sitting in 7th place in the standings. They're only 1.5 games ahead of the 9th place Sparks and 2.5 games ahead of the 10th place Mystics. The margin for error is razor thin. Since Clark went down, they're 6-6, which sounds decent until you realize they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. The offense has completely stalled without their floor general. Coach Stephanie White has been trying to put on a brave face, but you can see the strain in her press conferences. She recently said Clark still isn't practicing with the team, only doing individual workouts. Think about that. If she's not even in team practices yet, how close can she really be to returning? White keeps saying they're prioritizing Clark's long-term health, which is code for we're not rushing her back. But here's the shocking part that changes everything. The 2026 free agency is coming, and virtually every single player in the WNBA will be a free agent. Every single one. If the Fever end this season on a low note, injured and struggling, what top-tier free agent is going to want to come to Indiana? They need Clark back not just for this playoff push, but to show potential free agents that this team has a bright future. The schedule isn't doing them any favors either. They've got games against Minnesota twice, and the Lynx are the top team in the league right now. They also face Washington, Connecticut, and have to travel for tough road games. The Fever need to go at least 5-5 in their remaining games to secure a playoff spot. That might not sound difficult, but with half their backcourt injured and no established chemistry with their replacement players, every game is going to be a battle. Let me paint you the real picture of how desperate this situation has become. During their last game, they only had 9 available players. 9. Most teams struggle with 11 or 12. The Fever are literally running on fumes. Kelsey Mitchell has been carrying the scoring load, but she can't do it alone forever. Aaliyah Boston is putting up 14.5 points and 9.2 rebounds over her last 10 games, but even she looks exhausted from the increased workload. There's another angle to this story that nobody's discussing. The WNBA desperately needs to expand roster sizes. Players, coaches, and even team executives have been screaming about this all season. When you have teams playing 5 games in 8 days, then getting a week off, the schedule is designed for injuries. The wear and tear on these athletes' bodies is unsustainable. Natasha Hassan and Stephanie White have both publicly called for bigger rosters, but the league seems more interested in expansion teams than protecting current players. Remember when the Fever won the Commissioner's Cup against Minnesota without Caitlin Clark? That feels like a lifetime ago. They've pulled off miracles before, winning 5 straight games at one point without their superstar. But this is different. This isn't just missing one player, it's missing the heart of your backcourt. Sophie Cunningham wasn't just a shooter. She was the emotional leader when Clark went down. She brought swagger, confidence, and clutch shooting that lifted everyone around her. The signing of Shey Peddy might seem like a small move, but it reveals the Fever's desperation. They're bringing in a 36-year-old who hasn't been on a roster consistently all season. In her last game action, she scored 7 points as her highest output. This isn't a solution, it's a band-aid on a bullet wound. The fact that they're even considering aerial powers or other free agents shows how thin the talent pool has become. What makes this even more frustrating is that when healthy, this Fever team looked like a legitimate contender. Clark Mitchell, Boston, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull formed one of the best starting units in the league. They had depth, shooting, defense, and star power. Now they're scrambling just to field a complete roster for games. If you're a Fever fan, you have every right to be upset about how this season has unfolded. The officiating issue that Sophie's sister brought up deserves more attention too. Bria Hartley, the player who fell into Sophie's knee, has been involved in multiple controversial plays this season. She was ejected from a Chicago Sky game for pushing Becca Allen to the ground. She got into it with Rickea Jackson from the Sparks. She yanked Angel Reese's hair. There's a pattern here, and the league's unwillingness to address overly physical play is literally ending seasons for players. Here's my prediction, and you might not like it. Caitlin Clark will return, but it won't be until the very end of August, maybe even early September. The Fever will barely hang on to a playoff spot, finishing as either the 7th or 8th seed. They'll lose in the first round, not because they lack talent, but because they never had a chance to build chemistry with all these roster changes. And the 2026 free agency will see major stars avoiding Indiana because of how this season ended. Unless something dramatic changes in the next 2 weeks. If Clark comes back by August 26th and looks like herself immediately, if the new hardship players mesh perfectly with the existing roster, if Kelsey Mitchell continues her scoring tear, then maybe, just maybe, the Fever can salvage something from this disaster of a season. But that's a lot of ifs, and time is running out fast. The broader implications for the WNBA are significant too. The Fever have been the league's biggest draw this season. Their games averaged over 17,000 fans at home, beating even the NBA's Pacers on a per-game basis. They've set television rating records that haven't been seen since the league's early days. If they miss the playoffs or get bounced early, it's not just bad for Indiana. It's bad for the entire league's momentum. What's happening in Indiana right now is bigger than just injuries. It's about a franchise at a crossroads, a superstar's career hanging in the balance, and a league that needs to seriously reconsider how it protects its players. Sophie Cunningham's injury isn't just another name on the injury report. It might be the final blow to a season that started with such promise. The next 10 days will determine everything. Will Clark return? Can Shey Peddy provide stability? Will the third hardship signing make a difference? The margin for error is gone. Every game, every possession, every decision matters now. The Fever aren't just fighting for a playoff spot, they're fighting for the future of their franchise. This is the harsh reality of professional sports. One moment you're shooting 50% from 3, the next you're in a hospital getting an MRI on your torn MCL. Sophie Cunningham deserved better. The Fever deserved better. The fans definitely deserved better. But this is where we are, and the only question left is whether this team has one more miracle left in them. Before you go, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the way this season is going, you won't want to miss a single update. The next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely crucial for the Indiana Fever, and I'll be here bringing you all the latest developments as they happen. Will Caitlin Clark save the season? Can the Fever survive without Sophie Cunningham? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and let's see who gets it right. This is shaping up to be one of the most dramatic endings to a WNBA season we've ever seen, and you're not going to want to miss what happens next.